Hello everybody, it's me, Ghost Bunny, and first of all, let me just say Happy New Year's. Hopefully this year is treating you better than last year. I know it kind of hasn't really started all that well, especially with current events, but hopefully you're doing all right. Hopefully you're eating, you're being taking care of yourself. Hopefully you're in a safe environment. I, if you guys want to know, I don't know if I said this, but I went back to university and I'm currently studying to become a pastry chef. So yeah, I'm on my second semester, and at least for now, I'm doing really, really well. I don't know if they do this in your country, but in Puerto Rico, we have this thing called Cuadro de Honor, which is basically it's a kind of celebration for those students who had really high grades. So if you went through the entire semester with like A plus, like you're a 4-point average or close to 4-point average, they will give you like a certification saying congratulations on your good grades, and we hope you keep up. Basically, so it's a celebration for students to keep up, to keep the morale high. And I made it this year. First time that I made it to the Cuadro de Honor, so pat on the back for me. Hopefully, this is a sign that this year will be really, really good because I am trying my best to do my best. So yeah. Before I start reading, let me just get my disclaimers, and that is that 1, I have no affiliations with 7Cs or Meat Bun. This is not an official audiobook. If you guys want an official audiobook, I think there's one around. I heard some people say there was one around, but you can Google it if there is one. But this, my friends, is not an official audiobook. This is just us gal pals having fun. So while reading, I might exaggerate some parts. I might add some parts. Who knows? I do like being in the book. When I read it, I really do like, putting my flavor into it, giving a little bit of moi. So, yes, it's not going to be like a direct read as maybe. Some might like it. Disclaimer numero dos, and this is for languages. I do not speak Chinese. I'm so sorry. I do not speak Chinese. So, there is a high chance that the names I am mispronouncing. I have looked for guides. I have heard them. But sorry, I do know that I am mispronouncing a good amount of the names. That is not on purpose. I'm not trying to make fun of, make a mockery, or just joke on the Chinese language. It's absolutely beautiful. I watched a lot of Chinese dramas, especially this year. Well, last year with, Revenge Love and whatnot. Yee! So good. Pero yeah, I'm not trying to make fun of it. I really like it. I just do not speak it. And still on languages, I might speak English, but when it comes to reading, I should probably take all my mistakes out of this. I sometimes feel like maybe if I should just edit every single time I mistake a word. But I don't know, I feel like me stumbling on words is part of my charm. Me just having to repeat a full sentence, me pausing and then somehow getting lost halfway through the story and being like, where the am I? It's part of my charm. Do you guys like when I get lost and then somehow forgot what sentence I was on and then read it like 2 times? I don't know. It's the Ghost Bunny specialty. It's what is it? Oh, I forgot the word. Well, also me forgetting words. That's another part of the Ghost Bunny experience. Pero sí, la palabra, ¿cuál era? Oh yeah, it's the freshness seal. To know that it's extra fresh. It's extra Ghost Bunny. When I forget words and then repeat words and all that shenanigans. But yeah, with that being said, get comfy with your book because we are currently now on chapter 8. Before I say this, I know when am I going to start? I do want to give a previously on just in case it's been a while since I've read, so I do want to give a previously on our on Case File Compendium. So what happened last time was that our good doctor went on a date with this one girl. I forgot her name. Her name's going to be Sid here probably again, but I generally do not care. I'm sorry, I don't care for her. The weird thing is that she was like this gold digger and she was like a streamer if I remember correctly, and she was like, what do you mean you're like blah, 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 blah. And then she figured out, oh my god, you make money, I want you now. And he was like, actually I don't need no gold digger. And then she was like, and she laughed. And then they met this old guy who thought that she was his daughter. So he was like, my daughter. I don't know what happened to his daughter. I think she died. The one thing is that he was like delirious and thought that she was his daughter. And then she was like, I don't care for you, old fart. And then she was being like really, really mean, really, really rude. And then he was like, actually, I'm getting a heart attack right now. And then he was like, I'm dying. And she was like, yeah, sounds cool, sounds crazy. I'm gonna literally record you Like, I'm gonna put my camera straight to your nostrils, like that close, and like disregard you as a human person, because I don't think you're a human being if you're poor. Brokies don't deserve rights, I guess. So after that entire mess happened, the people in the stream were actually like, "Hey, lady, you're kind of a bitch." And she was like, "No, guys, no, 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 I'm actually trying to help him." And at that point, the guy was like, already like, "No, no, no, no." And our good doctor was like, "Hey, calm down. I'm a doctor." And stuff like that. If I remember well, I think our good boy, Yu showed up and I was like, "Hey, I can take him to like a hospital or whatever," because the ambulance was like couldn't arrive because I think there was like a car jam. If I'm correct, there was a car. It was something like the ambulance couldn't make it. And they was like, Yu was like, "Hey, get in my car or whatever. I'll take him." And stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I remember. I could be remembering wrong. I should check. Let's keep reading. Okay, chapter 8. He even ordered me around like a servant. Half an hour later, an employee from the Department of Homeless Services of the Bureau of Civil Affairs showed up. He thanked the medical staff and everyone who had come with Xiaxing Cheng as he explained the situation. The old man is called... Sorry. Zhuang Xiqiang? Zhuang Xiqiang, I think. He really is a stubborn old nail house. Xie Shui and Bai Jing, who'd insisted on hitchhiking a ride, had also come up from the underground parking garage. They sat on the sofa of the doctor's office to listen to the details. Mr. Zhuang Zixian, his situation is rather unique. Homeless Services has been struggling to resolve this problem. The employee wrung his hand and took a sip of the tea that the nurse had brewed in disposable paper cup. He smacked his lips and sighed. He came to Huzhou about 3 years ago and said that he was looking for his daughter, but we checked the registry. He's just an old man who lives by himself. He doesn't have any family. He used to reside in Yaodong, in Shanzhou, a place so poor even birds don't want to live there. He didn't have any neighbors whatsoever, so he had to walk over a mob just to get water. We even sent people down to inquire with the other villagers, and they all said that the old man was very antisocial, and they didn't really know anything about him at all. By the way, here's a little note. Okay, so when he said about the old man being as stubborn as an old nail house, apparently that's a term for people who refuse to vacate their residence, even under pressure from property developers. I think I've heard that phrase before, or at least a phrase similar to that. Yep. Also here when it says Yaodong, the little note says a type of rural. I always get that word wrong. Rural, dwelling carved out of a hillside. Okay, so it kind of lives like on a house, like near like an So just imagine a hill and like a house that's like right on like the foot of like that hill, kind of like almost like buried in it, but like not. Does that make sense? Maybe I should find a photo or something. I don't know. But that's not an excuse for you to shirk your responsibilities, Bai Jing blurted out stridently. Shouldn't you lock up people who pose a danger to society? He disrupts the municipal environment. Jesus. He disrupts the municipal environment and might even attack others. Miss, you must understand. The employee said that Jesus Christ. I said this was part of the charm, didn't I? Maybe it wasn't that much of a charm. Miss, you must understand, the employee said, with an awkward expression. We can't lock up the homeless. They are citizens as well. We can only arrange housing for them or send them to a hospital for medical care. Baijing's tone was vicious. I don't care. Nutcases, excuse you? Nutcases should all be forcibly institutionalized. Shouldn't all these normal things be quarantined? Nana, I already didn't like you. Like, I genuinely didn't like you. Are you that inhuman? Like, oh my god. Woman. Yeah. good doctor, do not date her. She is crazy. And maybe she's the nut job who should be institutionalized. Hmm? Before this exchange, He Yu hadn't yet formed an opinion on this woman. He was someone who didn't have a particularly strong moral compass. In other words, he had a rather high tolerance for this sort of people. To him, with Xie Xingchen, what Xie Xingchen had told him about her wasn't even worth the comment. Everyone had their own way of living, their own choices. But Bai Jing's rant about, and I quote, nutcases, end quote, really was tap dancing right on young master's, you know, nerves. The corners of He Yu's mouth suddenly curved into a slightly mocking smile, but he lowered his head and kept quiet. Calm down, my king. Calm down, my king. Do not. She's a woman. Remember that. I'm having difficulty remembering that too. The employee from the Department of Homeless Services wiped away his sweat. Wiped away his sweat. Young lady, please calm down a little. Since Mr. Zhuang Zixiang condition does seem likely to worsen to the point where he might lose his ability to function in society, we'll take him out, to our affiliation's psychiatric hospital for treatment and supervise once his situation has improved. Which psychiatric hospital? Xi Jinping suddenly asked. Oh no. Given the current situation, it'll probably be Chengkang, even though it's not the best in terms of facilities and management. The accommodations we have reserved with Ping have already been filed up. There's really nothing we can do. Hearing this, Bai Jing was finally satisfied. Huh, that's more like it, she muttered. Just as they were talking, the emergency doctor arrived. He informed them about Zhuang Zixiang's condition because he had been treated in time. He was no longer in mortal danger. Once visitors were allowed to, if they wanted to check on him, you were allowed to, you could check on him. A girl would be the best, the doctor explained. This patient is still in a state of confusion. He keeps trying to look for his daughter. Xi Shui stood up. I'll go. She followed the doctor out of the room. He Yu had been sprawled over the reception room sofa, with his elbows propped up on his back, listening to the conversation with his head lowered and an indifferent expression on his face. However, now that Xi Shui was leaving, he swung his long legs down and prepared to get up as well. Hold it, said Xie Xingchen, his guarded wariness obvious. What's wrong? Why are you following my sister around all the time? The schoolboy sat back down on the sofa, falling silent for a moment, though it seemed like they were having a sophisticated and courteous conversation, if you will. His almond eyes were in fact full of derision and ridicule. Then what if I follow you around all the time, What if I do that instead, Dr. Xie? Dr. Xi, if you will? To this, Xie Qingchen had no reply. With a steady warmth in his voice, He Yu said, both you and your matchmaking date are here? Isn't it inconvenient for me to be around? I'll give you some room. I don't really want to be in your way. Bai Jing immediately snatched the bait and yelled, There's no chance we'll get together. He Yu laughed softly without looking at Bai Jing. Tilting his head, he added quietly at a volume only Xie Chen could hear. Dr. Xie, don't you think your charisma is fading with old age? You can't even get that little girl. Yo, don't say it like that. Gross. Xie Chen said nothing. Wicked thing. Could it be that his ancestral tomb had been renovated into a outhouse? How they produced such a depraved beast? Xie Chen's expression was cold as his lips moved just enough to reply. Hurry up and get lost. He Yu smiled. He stood up suddenly, his arms shot over Xie Chen's shoulder. Xie Chen started bewildered as to what this deprived, and I quote, gentleman, who was flouting mortal etiquette was doing. Even though they were several centimeters apart, he could pick up the scent of Huyu's adolescent hormones, as well as feel the heat emitting from the boy's chest as he loomed over him. The domineering aura, unique to young males. Is this an omega verse? Did I actually get? No, this isn't. I don't know. All this pheromone and smells. What kind of ABO desire is this? But going back, the domineering aura unique to young males made Xie Cheng a fellow man extremely uneasy. As a rather traditional man, he immediately felt a sense of irritation as his male territory. That's what it says, wow. Being invaded. Xie Chen was just about to shove He Yu away when this invasive and imposing schoolboy straightened back up. In his hand was a large bag of coffee he had picked up from the counter behind him. The drinks He Yu had just ordered. Curious. Gah. I was just getting this drink, he said. He Yu's derisive smile widened at the sight of this man, the man's dark expression. He took out the cup of coffee from the paper bag and passed them to the employee from homeless services, the doctor and the nurses. He also asked someone to bring one to Xie Shui, and even handed a cup to Bai Jing. But then he clicked his tongue and looked at Xie Cheng. Would you look at that? I'm so sorry. I forgot to get you one. After a brief pause, He Yu held out his cup of iced coffee and Xie Cheng. Why don't you drink mine? But this clearly wasn't a sincere offer. He had already inserted the straw into the cup and was holding it right up to Xie Cheng's lips as if it were the most natural thing to do. He was playing him. He knew what he was doing. Strategy. Think smarter or some harder. Smarter? Someone here is hard, not him, not me. You? He was certain Xie Chen would refuse, but to his surprise, look how the turntables have turned. It sparked Xie Chen's temper instead. Xie Chen subverted all of He Yu's expressions as he sat right there on the sofa with the air of a man getting waited upon by a little brat. Because that was happening. With a sly lift of his gaze, he stared into He Yu's eyes, parted his lips, and slowly closed them around the straw that had been shoved in front of his face without breaking eye contact, direct eye contact. He was like, he looks at me, and I look at him. He looks back to me, and I look back at him. Xie Cheng's throat bobbed as he swore. Excuse me, what are we doing? Wow, I was reading and all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Did my brain just finally catch up? Excuse you? Xie Chen's throat bobbed as he swallowed the drink. It was as though he was egging He Yu into a fight. Excuse me? Then he let go of the straw, his wet lips glossy, his eyes sharp. You can put it over there. I'll take it as a gesture of filial piety. What does that mean? He Yu was speechless. When he saw Xie Cheng dip his head and close his lips around the straw, he felt a maddening heat in his chest, probably from sheer anger. Yeah, let's say that. He thought that this person really deserved to be tormented thoroughly. More than words could describe it. He had wanted to see Xie Cheng stuck in an awkward dilemma or snap back in embarrassed rage. But no. But in the face of He Yu's challenge, Xie Chen had answered him with an air of composure, radiating focused arrogance. I like how sometimes I censor myself, other times I forget. Because I'm passionate. Do you know what passion is? Do you get the reference? Maybe. For a second, He Yu had the urge to toss the coffee all over the fatherly ice cube of a face to see how miserable he would look with his face dripping wet and his clothes soaking through. But then he remembered he's hot as fuck, so now it wouldn't work. But in the end, he only smiled and set the iced coffee lightly down onto the tea table. Ducking his head for a moment, he spoke quietly to Xie. All right, since you wanted it, be sure not to waste a drop. Drink it all, drain the cup, and let me know if it's not enough. I'll get you another. How could I possibly impose? You've acted as my driver and handed over your checkbook tonight, and now you're even offering to become my delivery boy? Sitting Chen laughed coldly and picked up the coffee, his long, slender fingers sliding through the droplets of condensation collecting on the cup. You're dismissed. What kind of dumb roleplay is this? You guys get the vibes. Not just me. Maybe it's just me, but do you guys get the vibe? Some dumb roleplays going on. Okay, after Zheng Cheng finished speaking, he thrown the cup at He Yu. He Yu walked away, a dark expression on his face, after witnessing this verbal pissing contest. This verbal dick measuring contest, if you will. It was clear to everyone present, that the two of them weren't exactly on the best terms. It was somewhat awkward, but Chen Chen acted as if everything was fine. Everything is fine. He got up and, under the circle of watchful eyes, tossed the coffee into the trash. Only schoolboys ordered coffee so late. How was he to get any sleep that night? Ugh, fucking caffeine. If he messed around like this at his age, sheesh. Chen Chen sat back down, his expression calm as he looked toward the homeless service staff. Sorry about making such a scene. My client's son doesn't know any better. It's fine. The worker laughed awkwardly. So where were we? Oh, yeah, that's right. So you're certain that Zhuang Zichen doesn't have a daughter? The employee snapped out of it. Oh, yeah, that's right. He doesn't. Mr. Zhuang Zichen doesn't really have any relatives at all. We help homeless individuals get in touch with their family or other community members, but there was no one we could contact for this old man. Sitting Chen fell silent. From his expression, he felt that Zhuang Ziqiang's reaction didn't seem like a meaningless or random disassociative episode. The matter of his daughter had to be a weight on his mind. Daughter! The old man lay on his hospital bed with an oxygen cannula, still muddled and rambling under his breath about the person who might have been a figment of his imagination. My wonderful daughter! Your old man watched you grow up right before his eyes, watched you go to school with your little backpack on your shoulders, watched you pass the college entrance exam. Ooh, she's in college? And move to the big city. He stopped for a moment, a cloudy tear seeping from the wrinkling folds of his eyelids. The old man's sleep talking was tainted in pain and choked with sobs. Why couldn't you ever come to see your old man? Xie Shui was soft-hearted, and her tears flowed freely as she listened at his side. After getting the nurse's permission, she reached out for Shuang Xiqian's hand and said from his beside, "Uncle, don't cry anymore. I'm here. I'll stay here with you. Please get better soon." As he was still ill, she couldn't spend too much time with the patient. After she comforted the old, confused man for a while, the doctor told her it was about time to leave. After disinfecting herself, Xie Shui walked out of the emergency room. She reached into her bag for tissues to wipe her tears, only to discover that they'd already been used up. A pretty hand passed her a man's handkerchief. Xie Shui looked up. Her slightly swollen and red eyes were met with the sight of He Yu's gently smiling face. With Xie Chen, He Yu had behaved like a degenerate beast, but with Xie Shui, he was rather like a well-behaved show dog. The handkerchief he passed over was a square of snowy white silk of a very delicate and exquisite make, without a single crease marring its surface. Here you go. Thank you. It's nothing. He'd already known that Xie Shui would react like this. Xie Shui's parents died soon after she was born, and her grandparents had already passed away Well, long before that, ever since she was little, she'd been very envious of others who could shout, Daddy! God, I can't say that. I blame the internet. Mommy! Grandma! Or Grandpa! Said the opposite way. Okay. In her case, it was only during the annual Qingming festival, apparently here it says, a holiday for honoring departed ancestors. Oh, it's like the Dia de los Muertos in Mexico and stuff like that. Okay, well, that and it's not the same, but the same vibe, I think. Like, honoring the dead. In her case, it was only during the annual Qingming festival that she could quietly say those words as she stood beneath Xie Xingcheng's black umbrella with a bouquet of dainty white chrysanthemums in her hands, facing those ice-cold, rain-soaked gravestones. Thus, the one thing she couldn't bear was seeing people of her parents' or grandparents' age without children to keep them company. Doctor, wiping her tears, she spoke to the emergency physician again. Can you please let me know when he's moved to the psychiatric hospital? I'll go with him. Hayu frowned slightly. What would you go to that kind of place for? It's not for trouble. I. It's just. It just so happens that the university wants me to go to several prisons and psychiatric hospitals to discuss whether we can bring students to visit. They said it's to give the screenwriting and directing students some hands-on experience in civic engagement, but I haven't had the chance to discuss it with them yet. Xie Shui blew her nose. It's not like I'll be going out of my way, she said, since she'd put it that way, well, Yu couldn't really say anything else. He could only walk over to the side and pick up that little yellow stray. Yu put his hands under his chubby front leg and lifted it up to his face. His yellow and white striped legs kicked a few times into midair, and its black bean nose met his almond eyes as it fell into somewhat of a daze. Yu said gently, I'll get a dog permit so that you can stay at my place for a time being. Once your owner's better, I'll send you back to him. Trembling and shivering, the little dog let out a whimper. It is said that animals have a sixth sense, allowing them to detect danger and madness hidden behind a person's smile. So despite the kindness, of Huyu's words, the little dog was frightened but attempted to get on, Huyu's good side. Anyway, it nervously stuck out the tip of its tongue and gave Huyu a lick. Yu laughed and reached out to stroke the dog's head, letting the dog lick the tip of its finger. Eyes dark, he said, Good boy. You're much more sensible than him. And that is the end of chapter 8. A lot happened. A lot. I'm seeing that we're finally starting maybe a little bit of flirtatious going on. But yeah, that's the end of chapter 8. First read of the year. So yeah, hopefully you guys liked it. And if you guys are enjoying my reading, you could like, comment, subscribe. I also have a playlist. If you guys like, I'm also reading other books. So yeah, I finally finished reading Kimpor, so I have the full playlist right there. So it's available for anybody who wants to read wants to read it with me. So yeah, but other than that, I hope you have a good day, night, wherever you are, however you are. And yeah, happy New Year's, happy holidays, and bye.